Hello, everybody, fishermen, stakeholders in the SK fishery, and everybody involved who is listening to this. My name is Els van Lavieren, and I am the technical manager of the marine program and the fisheries program. I work for Conservation International, and Conservation International, or CI, has been working together with the SK Fishery over the last years on a community fishery improvement project where we have looked into specific things such as bycatch and onboard monitoring, and some of you have been part of these programs to collect data on what's happening and how the fishery is doing. So when CI works on a CFIP, a community fishery improvement project, we look at three aspects of the fishery. We look at the economical sustainability, we look at the ecological sustainability for the environment and the fish, and etc. And also the third is the social sustainability. And as some of you know, we have conducted a social responsibility assessment. We've been doing surveys with about 50 fishermen and boat owners over the last months, interviewing you about how is the fishery doing when it comes to your own rights. Because CI finds it very important that the fishermen also have the best situation to work in. So we asked questions about human rights and discrimination and access to resources. We asked questions about quality and opportunity to benefit as well as fishermen, but also security on board and at sea, and also opportunities about for example, healthcare, insurance, and all these kinds of things. In the end, we believe that it's important that the fishermen working in the small-scale fisheries or in the artisanal fisheries sector should be protected in a way, or be working in a way that is most sustainable for themselves as well. And often this group is forgotten, and the working conditions are not very good because it is a smaller, or it is the small scale fishery. So for this reason we did this assessment, and we want to present back to you what were the indicators that were scored high risk. So what all the people we interviewed said together that is not going well, and what are the high risks and need improvement. So I'm going to quickly, or shortly, not too long, go through these indicators so that you can maybe share this presentation also with your colleagues, because you guys are all out at sea a lot and it's difficult to reach you, and you come and go, and so we hope that you can spread this presentation so that many other colleague fishermen can listen to this, and so that you know that we are working on this. And on the 18th of August, we will have a workshop at the LVV Ministry SAIS building at the Letitia Vriestelaan. You're very welcome to come. It's between 9 and 1 p.m. on the 18th of August, where we will talk about these high-risk indicators with different stakeholders and discuss improvements to create an improvement plan so we can make things better. So just to go through the principles that were scored high risk. So principle 1 is about protect human rights, dignity, access to resources. So the first indicator that scored high risk was human trafficking and forced labor, working hours and living conditions to mainly minors working at sea. So we don't have forced labor here in the fishery, and human trafficking not necessarily in the fishery sector, at least not in the artisanal fishery sector. But we did hear that there are some minors, so under age of 18 years old, working in the fishery sometimes, and these are often family members of boat owners. So we don't see that as a huge red flag, but on the other side, Miners working under these conditions for 2 weeks at sea, it's not really safe. The hygiene situation is not best, not really good, and also the long working hours. We do flag this as a point that we need to discuss and maybe improve, or what we can do to make that the conditions better for if miners want to work in the fishery, because in the end we do think it is good when family members grow up and want to work in the fishery sector as well. But we need to look into the conditions for minor minor fishermen, yeah, underaged. So the second one, sorry, is uh, the indicator access to basic services, sleeping conditions, hygiene, privacy on board, as well as plastic waste management. Well, this one obviously scored high risk because the conditions on the SCAB boats are not ideal. The crew sleeps under the front of the boat. It's not very hygienic because you also process the fish on board. You're quite open to the climate, you know, rain, sun, every climate condition. So sleeping, no toilets on board, no privacy, and also waste management. Obviously, a lot of your plastic waste goes overboard. All the waste actually goes overboard. So this is one of the points where we really need to look into improvements for you guys. And yeah, we would like to get suggestions from you as well on how you think that should be improved. Then the third indicator of Principle 1 is occupational safety, official training in first aid and emergencies and safety on board. Well, as we heard in the assessment, that actually nobody is really officially trained on first aid and emergency response. Captains know about it, and they know, most of them, how to handle in minor cases of emergency, but in large, you know, really big emergencies, it's important that the crew, one of the crew members, and specifically the captains, know what to do. So we feel that there's a lot of improvement on this, on safety on board and first aid. Then the fourth indicator of Principle 1 is customary use rights, non-fishing zone Galibi. That was identified as a high risk because there is a conflict with the SK fishermen, some in the period of the temporary non-fishing zone of Galibi during the turtle nesting season. And we feel that this community, there's a conflict with the Galibi community and the fishermen. So that's something that needs to be addressed on how to handle this, also to improve this. So Principle 2 is ensure equality and equitable opportunity to benefit. Two indicators were scored high risk here. The first one is stakeholder participation and collaborative management. How can we improve engagement of fishermen in all aspects regarding fisheries? Well, this is something that CI has also encountered, that it's quite difficult to engage with the fishermen because obviously the fishermen are out at sea a lot, but also fishermen either don't get the information where they can go to join stakeholder workshops, or they don't show up. I think that also has to do with the language barrier, that the workshops might be in Dutch, and then the fishermen, most of them speak English. So we really need to improve and find ways to improve the engagement with the fishermen, so that the fishermen also know what's going on. And that's why we are filming this presentation, or at least recording the presentation, so that it might hopefully be an easy way to reach the fishermen through your phone and then listen to this presentation. So the second indicator of Principle 2 that scored high risk is discrimination, transparency in permit process, retirement and saving money. Well, some fishermen indicated that they feel there's discrimination because they are Guyanese and not Surinamese, but most of them said they don't experience that. But there were a lot of fishermen who said they want more transparency from the government in the permit process. They also want a bit more much more security on retirement and saving money and opening bank accounts, because that's very difficult. The difficult thing about this, though, is that or a lot of the fishermen are here illegal, and so they don't have the necessary papers, and that's also one of the problems when it comes to a next indicator that I will talk about, where it comes to collective medical insurance, because the insurance companies don't want to give insurance to people who are not officially working here, so that makes it very difficult. They don't have a residence permit. So principle 3 is about improved food, nutrition and livelihood security. And the first indicator that scored high risk here is food and nutrition security for small-scale fishing communities, taking climate change and depletion into consideration. Well, quite a lot of fishermen said that if due to climate change or overfishing, the fish stocks decline so much that this industry has become difficult to work in, what then, what will happen when fishing is not a lucrative line of work anymore? So that's something that needs to be addressed. What could be a plan B or plan C after, if something like this would happen? The second one is healthcare, collective healthcare for fishermen. Like I said before, this is difficult because a lot of fishermen do not have a legal status here in Suriname. The third is economic value retention and adding value to catch. A lot of fishermen indicated that there is much more room for improvement here. Obviously, the fish bladder, the swim bladder is a added value, but there are many more ways to add value. Excuse me. Also, if the fishermen or the fishing industry, the SK fishing industry, would work on their own processing, and then that way also having power over their own prices. So that's one thing that can be improved much. The fourth indicator is economic flexibility and autonomy, transparency in how the prices for fish are calculated. So many fishermen have the feeling that they don't know what the price calculation is based on, and would like to have more transparency on this. The last indicator that scored high risk is livelihood security, alternative livelihood opportunities outside of fishery. That's something that I also mentioned just now, but this also looks at family members. Are the family members of the fishermen able to work in a different sector than the fishery? Are there opportunities or not? So all these things together we feel that were the red flags for the fishery, SK fishery, when it comes to social sustainability and responsibility. So again, we would really appreciate if you would come to the stakeholder workshop on the 18th of August. And again, it's at the Letitia Vriestelaan in the Sais room at the LVV ministry main building. And if you want to join, please let us know on number. You can send a WhatsApp or call me at number 855-4330. And we will gladly see you then. And you can also that way participate in how the improvements should be made. So thank you very much for participating in this assessment. And we really hope we can work on creating improvements soon for everybody involved in this fishery. Thank you. And please share this video or the link of this video with as many colleague fishermen as you can. Okay, so I hope to see you soon.